all. My name is Jasmine Jones. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and you are now watching Black Girl, a Therapist in the Wild. And today we are going to talk about poverty trauma. Now, what is poverty trauma? So poverty trauma is traumatization due to extreme poverty, either in childhood or over a long period of time during your life. You may have felt left behind as a child due to other kids being able to do things and afford things that you weren't able to. You may have felt that this is the normal type of life, and not being able to afford to do things that you want to do was normal based off of, and it can depend on if you grow up in a household with a healthy family as well. So if you're not experiencing any other trauma and you have a loving family and things like that, you may be less likely to experience poverty trauma, or you won't experience it as intensely as somebody who was experiencing other traumas as well in the household, like abuse and neglect and things like that. So when you experience poverty trauma as you grow up, you develop this kind of othered sense of self. Like, I am other than the other kids that I'm around. Most of my clothes are hand-me-down. I don't have the newest thing. We don't eat the same type of foods that my friends do when I go over to their house. We don't live in the same type of place that my friends do when they go in their house. And you can see poverty trauma a lot in the Black community just because after slavery, we were set up in a way where we couldn't buy land. White people were able to get like loans and things like that for their land to buy houses and grow their wealth and things like that. Black people were not able to get that. So we were kind of set up in this cycle of poverty after slavery, in that we couldn't own land, we couldn't buy land, we couldn't set up a financial stability for our family. So oftentimes in the Black community, you will see generations of poverty, where there was no one that was highly financially successful in the family, and nowadays things have been changing as far as technology and information and knowledge about investing and budgeting your money. There's apps now that you can easily learn how to budget your money and things like that. When it comes to poverty trauma, however, a lot of times we find people that they've gotten to a space where they have a pretty good job that pays them pretty well, benefits and things like that, but for some reason they're living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, going through their money because they never learned how to budget. Or they may develop an anxiety when they see too much money in their bank account. I don't know what to do with this. I should just spend it and buy things that I want, and then by the next paycheck they have nothing. I experienced that growing up in poverty, where as I got older, I never really understood how to budget my own money. And, I was in a space where mid-20s, I was like negative $32, negative $8 in my bank account. And I've had a pretty good job. I had a salary, I had benefits, I was making good money, I could afford my own place to live, but I had no savings. I didn't know what I was doing with money. And every time I had a surplus of money in my account, I would just get really anxious, and I never understood why I would get anxious. Like, I just felt like I needed to spend it. I needed to spend it as fast as possible. So that's when I started looking into poverty trauma and realizing that, okay, I am traumatized by the fact that I grew up impoverished and I don't know exactly what to do with my money. So a flip side to that, I don't know if you saw the Kevin Hart special on Netflix, but a flip side to that is being anxious about going back to poverty. So people will overwork themselves and, never give themselves a break. In the special that he was in, he talked about being afraid of going backwards, being afraid of ending up poor again and in the worst financial position he ever was, which was in his childhood, And so, in that special, he just kind of talked about hustling and working and things like that. But at the end of the day, your mind needs a break. Franticness about anything is usually a sign of anxiety, especially if it happens consistently throughout your life around particular things. So franticness about being poor is a sign of anxiety, is a sign that maybe there was some trauma from the impoverished position that a person grew up in. Another side to that is, since you believe that this is the way life is, you never try harder. You feel like you are not capable of doing more or creating more for yourself because this is the way my mom was, this is the way my cousins were, this is the way my aunties and uncles and grandparents were, this is the way their grandparents were. We never had money, we never did it, so this must be the way life is. And you never think to break the cycle. You never think that you can break the cycle. And then you gather around other people that are in similar positions to kind of justify, verify that this is the way life is. This is how life is supposed to be. We are supposed to be living paycheck to paycheck. We are supposed to be impoverished. We are supposed to, not have our own form of transportation or our own place to live, and things like that. As you grow, you are gathering more people who have poverty trauma around you, normalizing these behaviors, and making it even harder for you to escape the downfalls of trauma. So recognizing the people that you're hanging around, if you recognize the trauma in yourself and you talk to them about it, do they encourage you to grow? Does it help encourage them to want to grow too? Or do they want to pull you down even further because they don't believe in themselves and nothing you say will make them believe in themselves? And if it's the latter, then you have to decide, okay, I want to grow, so I need to make sure that these folks that I have around me are not necessarily influencing my choices and decisions. It doesn't mean you have to drop your friends, but just recognize if those friends that are stuck in their own cycles of poverty trauma are dragging you down with their beliefs as well. So those are just 3 ways that poverty trauma can affect you. Living paycheck to paycheck, even though you have a good job, you have no savings. Overworking yourself to the bone, thinking that, you're going to go back to the worst place you were, even though you may have investments and things that will make you money for years and years to come, where you don't necessarily have to work as hard as you think you do, but feeling like you need to, because that could get taken away too. The investments could go bad and you could lose all your money and things like that. And then thinking that this is the way life is, so I'm not going to try harder in my career and building my finances and taking care of my life financially, and even though I may have a talent, I may have the determination, I may have, a sense that I am worth something more, but because this is the way I feel life is, then this is the way it will be. So it can affect a lot of folks very differently depending on who you are. And so the way that, I work with clients on working out of that, and the way that I worked with myself on getting out of that, is recognizing my own worth, understanding that I have talents, I have determination, I have the ability to create things that I want to create, and I need to focus on those abilities regardless of the negative thoughts that come into my mind. So using mindfulness to stay in the here and now. This is what I work with clients. Mindfulness can be used for various different diagnoses and mental health illnesses and things like that. So using mindfulness to remind myself, okay, why am I anxious about having so much money in my account? Is it because of something that I'm worried about happening now? Or is it something that I'm worried about that has happened in the past and I'm afraid it's going to happen again? So recognizing when I'm putting the mask of the past onto my current status, and then actively stopping myself from making the decisions that I'm making based off of the past. Actively stopping myself and saying, I'm not going to touch this money. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go, rest. I'm going to go relax. I'm going to go, I'm not even going to look at the bank app on my phone. And then, Something that I've done personally is when I'm concerned, like when I spend money, I get anxious. So I still get anxious when I spend money because I feel like, oh no, I'm going to spend this money and it's going to like just evaporate everything in my account. So anytime I think of my bank account, even if I don't want to, I will look at it. So I made that pact with myself. Just the thought of my bank account, then you need to look and see how much money you actually spent. Don't just not look at it and just be like, because what I would do is I'll just be passive, like, oh, well, I guess I spent this money and I guess I'm poor now, so I guess I'll just keep spending money. It's just not going to be right. So making sure that you are making pacts with yourself and you're sticking to it regardless of how your gut feels, regardless of how your anxiety feels. Going back to a video that I did before, anxiety versus intuition. If there's no evidence, then it's just anxiety. If there's no evidence to say that, you're poor, you're going to spend all this money, you don't deserve this, and things like that, then that's anxiety and it's not true. If there's evidence, like that you spent a whole bunch of money and now when you look in your bank account, it's negative something, then it's kind of like, okay, maybe I need to work on, doing something better with my money. So, instincts and things like that. So, yeah, that is poverty trauma, and it affects all of us, not just the Black community. I mean, anybody that's grown up poor, anybody that has experienced a long period of poverty, either, as a child or as an adult, it can affect you. And learning how to take those baby steps out of it, using mindfulness to remind yourself to stay in the present, remind yourself that, these things that happened in the past, they don't have to happen again. You're taking different steps. What steps are you taking in the now to make sure those things don't happen again so that you can forget about those things from the past and not put them on the present, And it's hard. It takes a lot of work. I'm 33 now. So it took me up until I was about, I'll say 31 to figure it out. 31 and a half. To finally figure it out, to finally have some savings, to finally be able to, do the things that I want to do with my money and not let my anxiety hold me back. Investing and saving and growing and building and planning for the future without feeling anxious about it. That's something else poverty trauma does. It makes your future obsolete. It's kind of like we don't think about the future because when you're in poverty, you're just going day to day, just trying to survive. So it puts you in the survival mode, and then you're like, there is no future. I'm just trying to live for today. I'm just trying to survive today. And that is the wrong way to use mindfulness and focusing on the here and now, because it just leaves you in this state of continuous, perpetual, pain and trauma, and it doesn't change anything. So recognizing when you're using your present in the wrong way by just using it for survival instead of using it for, I am going to focus on growing right here, right now. And also recognizing when you are so focused on the here and now that you have no concept of what the future could be. So it's a balance of, okay, at some point I do want to grow into the future, so I need to also focus on that. And then at some point I need to learn from the things that I've experienced in the past that I don't want to repeat again. And then also, I need to stay focused on the here and now as well, so I don't bring in anxieties from either side that will stop me from doing what I'm supposed to do on a daily basis. So it's a lot, but it's a balance. Everything is a balance. Everything is a spectrum, So even mindfulness is a spectrum. Even though it says stay focused on the here and now, it doesn't mean stay completely focused on the here and now and be in survival mode. And don't consider the future at all, So finding that balance for you so that you can grow in every way, just not even financially, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in various different ways. So yeah, that is poverty trauma. And I saw that there are people commenting more on my videos, and I have maybe 80 subscribers right now. Hi. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. What did Johnny Depp say in Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Hello, world. What say? The earth says hello, or the sun says hello. I don't know. I forgot that part. Hello, world. Thank you for subscribing. I hope my videos, even my silly ones, are informative. I try to put some logical information into everything that I do, even if it's silly. And yeah, keep subscribing, keep commenting. I will try to comment back to people. If it gets to be too many people, you're probably just going to get a bunch of likes because I have a job and things to do. I can't comment on 100 comments at once and things like that, but I will try to put likes and hearts and stuff to let everybody know thank you for giving a comment and enjoying my videos. But yeah, hi subscribers, 80 people, that's cool. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and you'll probably see me later on tonight because I'm going to be posting I May Destroy You episode 3, which I'm really excited for. So stay tuned for that, and later days.